In this video you will learn about Stylex library, which was made by Facebook and released not so long ago. And the sponsor of this video is UploadCare. If you want to make possible files uploading on your website, you typically need to build frontend, backend, storing files on either your server or uploading them to CDN. And it's a lot of work. If you want to implement Upload directly from Google Drive or Dropbox, it's even more work. UploadCare solves all these problems at once, and just in several lines of code, you can get all these things out of the box. If you want to check UploadCare, there is a link in the description box below. And actually there are already lots of videos and posts about Stylex and how amazing it is. People are saying that this is the best library for styling for React, or it is a killer of Tailwind. And this is what is written on the official website. Stylex is a simple, easy-to-use JavaScript syntax and compiler for styling web applications. So from my perspective, this is just another library of writing CSS inside JavaScript, but it is done by Facebook with quite good API. This is why it will for sure be popular. And just to remind you from the history, previously we simply wrote CSS as an additional language to write styles inside our HTML or inside frameworks like React. Then at some point we got the idea of having our CSS in JavaScript. Then we can easier change it with our JavaScript variables because we're writing all our code on the client. And it made a lot of sense. But it is much easier to just load CSS than execute JavaScript and calculate all these styles on the fly. And then at some point we got solutions like Tailwind, which are really something different. It doesn't have anything to do with CSS or with CSS in JavaScript. It is simply a library where you get lots of small helpers and you can combine them to avoid writing CSS at all and simply using hundreds of different classes inside your HTML. So first of all, Stylex is for sure not a replacement of Tailwind. The idea is completely different. This is why saying that it is a killer of Tailwind, it is not correct. Tailwind allows you to write your styles in a matter of seconds. Stylex, on the other hand, allows you to structure your styles, reuse them and scale. And actually on the official website there is a link Thinking in Stylex where you can read lots of stuff. The main point is that it is simply CSS in JavaScript library, which can be built in plain JavaScript, and it is type safe. Let's try to use it now. So what I have here is a Vite project that I just generated together with React. And the first package that we want to install here is stylexjs/stylex. But it is not enough because you can't use Stylex just like a normal library. You need a compiler for all the styles inside your project. And you can configure it, for example, with Webpack or Rollup with Babel. But as typically people are using Vite for local development, it makes a lot of sense to configure it together with Vite. And we can easily do that with additional package, which is called Vite plugin Stylex. And after installation, we must jump inside vite-config.js and register this plugin here. So here I want to import Stylex from, and here will be Vite plugin Stylex. And now inside our plugins, as a second parameter, we can register Stylex plugin. It will simply bring Stylex support to our Vite project, and we can even build our project and get all these styles additionally. Now let's look on my files. As you can see here inside source, I already prepared for us an app and a button. Inside app, I simply render an additional button component with text foo. Let's have a look on the button. This is just a React component with nothing else where inside we're rendering our text. And as you can see in browser, here is my button foo that we want to style now. How can we do that with Stylex? We want here on the top to import star as Stylex from Stylex package. Now here we can create styles property by calling stylex.create. And inside we can write different styles to a specific class, which essentially means we're creating here something similar to CSS class, like maybe base, and this is an object with different styling, for example font size 18. And as you can see here, first of all, our keys are camel case and our values are either numbers or strings. And what it allows us to do now here inside our button, we can spread Stylex dot props, and we can provide inside our styles that we just created dot, and as you can see we are getting a nice autocomplete because of TypeScript support inside Stylex dot base, which actually means it will apply all styles from this base class that we wrote here on the top. As you can see in browser now our font size is bigger, and this is what we are getting. So inside our markup we are getting this class button styles base with unique identifier, and here on the right we see this style. Most importantly, this is an inline style, we can click on it and we are getting it in the head of the page. Let's add several more styles. For example, we can write here background color, let's say teal, and color white. And now we're getting our button with white color and teal background. So this is essentially the most important part of Stylex. We're getting Stylex create to create some styles, and we're getting Stylex props to spread all our styles. Now here is an important point. If you used previously CSS in JavaScript, you always have questions there how to override specific styles. And inside Stylex, it is done in an extremely easy way, like merging several objects, but partially. What I mean by that? Here let's create, for example, a property highlighted, and inside let's change our background, for example, on orange. Now what I want to do here inside our props as a second parameter, I want to throw styles.highlighted. What it does? First of all, it applies styles base and then styles highlighted. So essentially it merges two objects, but the question is how it overrides properties. Essentially, if we don't have background color here in base, it will simply apply this background color. If we have background color in base, it will be overwritten by our highlighted background color, which essentially means the last element always wins. So the first element doesn't really matter because the second element will override everything which is inside this element. It doesn't really matter that inside base we have background color, it will be overwritten. As you can see in browser now we are getting an orange button with white text. Most importantly here on the right we don't see lots of crossed classes or crossed styles, we simply see here just a single class with background color orange. In a lot CSS and JS libraries, you will see here lots of different styles that were overwritten. Now let's talk about things like hover and focus. It is completely possible to write it inside Stylex. Let's say that inside our base we want to change our color on hover. How can we do that? We can write here background color, not just a string but an object. And now inside we can write default and it will be teal. This is exactly the same code like here the code on the top. So I can remove this code is just the same. But what I want to do after, I want to create here hover and write for example blue, which essentially means on this element we will change our background color to blue. But here is an interesting part. As you can see our background is orange and our hover doesn't work at all. It happens because this second styling, highlighted, overrode everything completely. It didn't simply overrode default state, because essentially here we just wrote default state, it overrode everything. So if we remove this part and simply have here styles base, then we have teal and on hover it will be blue. So this is the way how you can apply, for example, hover or focus when it is needed. And in exactly the same way you can apply different media queries. For example, let's say we want to tune width and we want to make it 100 pixels on big devices, and on smaller devices it must be full width. This is why here we can write that we have width and we have here a default width, and our default width will be 100 pixels. But here we can write that when we have a media query with maximum width 800 pixels, then we want to apply 100% of width. Let's have a look. As you can see, it takes full width because I zoomed my page a lot. Here I have a page without zoom, and now our button is small and it is just 100 pixels that you can see on the right. Now here I am making my page smaller and at some point it will be full width. Another question is how we can reset our styles. Let's say that we set some default style and we want to reset it. So not just override but reset. For example, here we already talked about highlighted, and what we can do here instead of orange we can provide null. In this case, it will be resetted. So after our styles base, I can write styles.highlighted, and then this style is fully resetted. We have just a default button because our background color was resetted. The next important point is obviously how to write our styles with conditions. Let's say that here we're getting one more property is highlighted, and it is a boolean, and we're getting it from the outside, and we want to use it for different styling. And here let's say our background color will be orange, just like previously. Now here we don't want to apply highlighted always, we just want to apply highlighted when is highlighted property isn't true. And in order to do that, we can write is highlighted and here will be styles highlighted, which actually means if this is false, then we don't apply any styles. As you can see now here our button is teal and blue, but it is not orange, because from the outside I didn't provide is highlighted. Now here let's try to provide is highlighted, and as you can see now it is orange. So if you need to apply some conditions, you can simply write your styles like this. Another important question is how to implement different variants for your component. So what I mean by variants, let's say that your button can be primary or secondary or maybe danger. And typically what you are doing, you can provide it from the outside. For example, here we are providing variant, and let's say it's a danger. Now here we must jump inside our button and register that we have a variant. For example, it can be danger, and by default it will be primary. Now here we can say that we are getting variant, and we want to apply this variant to our styling. What we essentially want to do here is just apply styles and variant in this case it's a property. So it is either danger or primary that we are providing from the outside. And what we must do now, we must create all our variants inside styling. So here we must create a danger with some styles, and we want to create primary. And for example, with primary we can say that our background color will be green and our danger color will be red. And as we provide it inside our component danger, it will use this styling. As you can see in browser, our button is red because we provided the variant, and now it is dynamic because with the dynamic variant from the outside we are choosing different set of styles. Another question is, can we really override this styling from the outside? And sometimes it is not enough to just style your component, in some case you for sure want to override it from the outside. This is why here inside our app, I want to import star as Stylex from Stylex, and now here I want to create some styles. I'm calling here Stylex create, and I'm providing some styles inside. And let's say that I want to create a property override, which will override here background color to black and color to white. And what we want to do here, we just need to provide a property. So we're providing here style, and it will be our styles.override. And we don't need to apply here Stylex props, we just want to pass here an object with some properties. But as you can see here, our component doesn't know what is style, we must define it inside our button. So here inside the interface, we must create a style, and it will be stylex.stylex_styles. As you can see now, we don't have any errors inside our style, and we are providing it inside. And now we can apply this override inside our button component. This is why inside our button we can say that we are getting a style and we are applying it here, so it is just a style and we are throwing it inside our Stylex props. As you can see in browser, our override was applied and our button is black with white color. And the last thing, which is extremely important, will we get a CSS file if we are building our React application? This is why I want to jump inside console and run npm run build to build the whole project. And as you can see here inside our assets, we got Stylex CSS and then our index.js. Let's have a look. Inside our project, inside these assets, we are getting not only our JavaScript, but Stylex file, and these are all styles that we previously wrote. Which actually means we wrote the whole CSS inside our React components, but when we're building it, it is going to additional CSS file. So Stylex is awesome, but it is for sure not a replacement to a framework like Tailwind, where you are getting lots of different properties out of the box. And actually, if you don't know a lot about Tailwind or what are the benefits of Tailwind, make sure to check this video also.